This is absolutely explosive. Just moments ago, in a development that has sent shockwaves through the very heart of Westminster and Buckingham Palace, the contents of Prince William's 12-page constitutional memorandum have been leaked. I repeat, the memo has been leaked. This is the document that sources inside number 10 desperately and unsuccessfully tried to suppress. The royal family is once again in complete chaos as the government scrambles to respond to the devastating constitutional bombshells that Prince William has personally authored. What we're about to reveal is the most significant royal intervention in British politics in over a century. Trust me, you need to hear every single word of this because the 5 bombshells contained in this document don't just challenge Keir Starmer's government. They expose a level of constitutional recklessness that should terrify every single British citizen. Let me be crystal clear about what is happening at this very moment. According to 3 separate sources, one inside the Palace of Westminster and 2 with close ties to Kensington Palace, the 12-page document was leaked to a senior constitutional editor at the BBC at approximately 4:30 p.m. this afternoon. The fallout was immediate. One source described the scene inside number 10 as absolute pandemonium, with aides running between offices and crisis meetings being called at the highest level. Prince William, according to these sources, was informed of the leak while attending a private charity engagement. An eyewitness described him as calm but resolute, stating that the prince reportedly told a senior aide, "The constitutional principles at stake are more important than palace protocols. The British people have a right to know this isn't just a letter. This is a meticulously crafted, legally devastating takedown of the government's entire plan." This 12-page document, which we have now obtained portions of, is divided into 7 sections, culminating in 5 specific, unanswerable constitutional charges. Starmer didn't just try to hide this, he tried to bury it, and now the truth is coming out. Here's the situation that reveals the deeper power struggle and the calculated cover-up by Starmer's government. We've learnt that when the 12-page memorandum was hand-delivered to number 10 Downing Street 2 days ago by a senior royal aide, it caused immediate panic. According to a source inside the building, the document was taken directly to Keir Starmer, who met with his inner circle for 90 minutes in what was described as an absolutely electric crisis meeting. The first instinct wasn't discussion, it was suppression. Our sources confirm that within 2 hours of receiving William's memo, number 10's legal advisors were exploring options to gag the media from reporting on its specific contents, potentially using national security as a pretext to request a D notice. Think about that. The government's first reaction to legitimate constitutional concerns from the heir to the throne was to attempt to impose censorship. But wait, it gets significantly worse. A senior Whitehall official who spoke to us on condition of anonymity revealed that a directive was sent out from the Cabinet Office describing the memo as a sensitive internal document and warning that any civil servant who discussed its contents would be in breach of the Official Secrets Act. This wasn't just a cover-up, this was a direct threat to the civil service. An attempt to enforce a wall of silence. Why were they so terrified? Because, as our source put it, the memo isn't a complaint. It's an indictment. It forensically dismantles the government's proposed legislation piece by piece, and it does so with a level of constitutional knowledge that has left government lawyers stunned. One number 10 insider reportedly told a colleague, "We catastrophically underestimated him. We thought he was a ceremonial figure. He's a constitutional heavyweight." This leak hasn't just embarrassed Starmer, it has exposed his government's attempt to silence the future king. And now we can reveal the first devastating bombshell from that memo. Here is the first constitutional bombshell from Prince William's 12-page memo. A charge so serious, it calls into question the very legality of Starmer's entire legislative agenda. Sources who have read the document confirm that on page 3, Prince William lays out what he calls the unlawful usurpation of royal prerogative. I'm not exaggerating when I say this is a constitutional atom bomb. William, supported by what sources tell us of volumes of legal precedent, directly accuses the Starmer government of attempting to use simple legislation to bypass and effectively erase centuries of established royal prerogative powers that belong to the Crown, not to politicians. Here's the key point. The proposed legislation, which aims to strip the monarchy of key ceremonial powers, is being rammed through Parliament. William's memo argues that these powers, such as the appointment of ministers and the formal assent to laws, are not just ceremonial, they are the fundamental bedrock of the British Constitution's checks and balances. By attempting to alter them without cross-party consensus and, crucially, without the proper engagement of the Crown, Starmer is accused of acting ultra vires, beyond his legal authority. A source close to the palace legal team told us that William's argument is this: the government cannot simply vote to give itself powers that have belonged to the Crown for 600 years. That is not democracy. That is tyranny. Think about what that actually means. The future king has, in a formal document, accused the Prime Minister of acting like a tyrant and attempting a constitutional coup. The memo reportedly cites the case of proclamations of 1611 and other ancient legal principles that Starmer's team either ignored or, more terrifyingly, never even knew existed. This isn't just a political disagreement, it's an accusation of illegality at the highest level. But don't just take my word for it. Senior constitutional lawyers are now, for the first time, seeing the sheer depth of Prince William's argument. And their analysis should concern every person in Britain. Professor Alistair Finch of Oxford University, a man who has advised 2 prime ministers on constitutional law, described the argument in William's memo as constitutional dynamite. He told the BBC this morning, just 1 hour ago. What Prince William has done is move this from a political debate to a legal one. He is essentially arguing that the government is attempting to build a house with no foundations. This legislation, if it passes, would be immediately subject to a constitutional crisis because it violates the fundamental unwritten rules that govern this nation. He specifically stated that the government's attempt to use a simple parliamentary majority to alter the Crown's role represents the most dangerous executive overreach since the 17th century. Those are his words, dangerous executive overreach. But wait, because the memo's legal brilliance goes even deeper. A King's Counsel who claims to have been briefed on the memo's contents told the Times today that William's argument on prerogative is unanswerable. And he wrote, the Prime Minister seems to believe he is the head of a republic. He is not. He is the King's First Minister. This memo is not a plea. It is a formal constitutional reminder of that fact. Starmer's lawyers have been completely and utterly outmanoeuvred. This leak now makes it impossible for the government to simply ignore the legal challenge. They have been publicly accused by the heir to the throne of breaking the unwritten constitution. The Starmer government's response, which we revealed 2 days ago, was to call William's intervention inappropriate involvement in political matters. That response now looks utterly ridiculous. This isn't politics. This is legality.